Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. And I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient, been dealing with it for almost 2 years. I am so happy to be here to uh, share the interview again with one of our previous guests. This is part two with Kayanne McDermott, who's a naturopath, and I'm really, really excited to get back into it with her. But first, I'd like to share what's been going on with me. I had completed some CT scans, and they were checking out my bones and my lungs, and the results were very good. Nothing got worse. A few things got better, so it was a great set of scans. So I'm really happy about that. And I was just talking with Kayanne about some of the things that have been happening. I'd like to thank several people. First of all, I'd like to thank my co-host on Cancer Conquering Community, Katie Gaspari. And Katie sent me a box yesterday, and I opened it up, and there were two large jars of spaghetti sauce, and she also sent me some pasta in the box as well. So I cooked it up last night, and it was fabulous. It was so good. It was really delicious. I mean, uh, needless to say, there's nothing left. But that was delicious. So thank you, Katie. And then also Johnny Adams in from South Florida. He writes children's books, and he sent me 3 copies of his latest book, Never Give Up, and they were fantastic. In fact, I was walking the neighborhood, and there's a couple of kids that are that age. So I asked their mom if they would like a copy, and she said yeah. So I dropped it off today, and so I'm waiting to hear how they like it. But yeah, it's been so great, you know, connecting with people in this community, and I'm so thankful because the people are just so fantastic. Which leads us to our fantastic guest today, Kayanne McDermott, who we've had for part one. Please reintroduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with you, Kayanne.
Hi, Mark. Just talking about spaghetti sauce, and I'm getting hungry. I think I'm gonna know. I think I know what I'm gonna have for dinner when I'm done with this. Well, I'm Kayanne McDermott. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I help individuals, men and women, with their health issues naturally. I usually work with teaching them how to use food as medicine. And I'd recommend, supplements and doing like lifestyle changes. Especially working through the guts because, a lot of disease starts in the gut. So I help individuals with that. And I'm here in New York. It's kind of cold. The weather's changing, so hence why I have a sweater on. So it's winter over here. Well, let's say going into fall weather now. So, but yeah.
Can you just summarize what we talked about real shortly in part one? Uh, Talk about your experience with cancer.
Yeah, well, the last session we had, we spoke about my dad, my experience with my dad, because my dad had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He was diagnosed in 2001, and Western medicine gave up on him. Since we sent him home to die. There's nothing we can do for you. He came across a naturopath who helped him live an extra 11 years, and with my experience with that, I really learned the power of resilience, and I learned the power of having faith and being positive about the situation, not looking at what you're going through, but once you made up in your mind that you're going to overcome, you surely will overcome it, especially once you have the right tools and the right people to support you. So that's pretty much what we spoke about in a nutshell, and you almost made me cry.
which was intentional, by the way.
You pulled on my heartstrings there.
Thank you for that, Can. And as a result of your father's experience, that helped to propel you into what you're doing today.
Correct. Right.
And what is that?
So as a naturopath, I'm passionate about helping people, with their issues, right? So I particularly work with a lot of individuals who have like circulation issues, like diabetes, high blood pressure, digestive issues, stress management. Any cancer, individuals that I work with, I really encourage them to still work with their oncologist because sometimes people think that, okay, I have to choose between the two. No, you don't. You can actually combine, do an integrative approach, just working with your oncologist and, work with someone like me or a functional medicine practitioner. Because what happens, what alternative medicine does, or what nutrition does, it strengthens your immune system so that your body can take on the chemotherapy. Because with chemotherapy, it actually kills your good cells as well, not just the bad, right? So any individuals I work with that, I work closely with them in terms of the nutrition, work on their foods that they're eating, because sometimes I've seen some people with cancer and they're going through chemotherapy and they're eating a lot of junk food, they're still eating, and it's just is it's not their fault, right? So, just don't know. So I really work a lot with the food, like change their foods, change what they're eating, and also help them with some supplements, in terms of like strengthen their immune systems and working on supporting their liver, and because your liver is your main organ that detoxifies, right? And chemotherapy can very be toxic to the body and it can weigh a lot on the body. So, but pretty much that's what I do in general. So if someone comes to me and say, hey, Dr. K, I'm having this issue. I can't lose weight, or have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, or my cancer. I've actually came across people who have had cancer, but they want to change their lifestyle. They overcame it. They probably did therapy. They got better, but they just want to work with me to help them stay on the right track so they don't go back to the previous lifestyle. So I work with people like that as well, right? Coach them along that journey. So yeah.
So I'm going to use myself as an example with
Mm-hmm.
you.
Okay.
So I I started off with prostate, bone, and lung cancer, stage 4. So where I was, the position I was in, it at the beginning, it's such a confusing thing. You're and I was confused as well. I had a lot of doubt. I didn't know, you know, what was going on. I felt like I was in a fog, and I was just very, very fortunate that the right people came in my path, and I listened to them. And as a result of that, I'm still here today. So if I were to come to you with, you know, stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer, and what advice would you give to me, somebody like me?
Well, somebody like you, I'll start with your diet. What are you eating? I'll ask you to give me a diet diary of some foods you've eaten the past week, of all meals, snacks, liquids you're drinking. Also, I'll assess your environment, like what kind of environment do you live in, what's your stress levels like, right? Because when your body is highly stressed, when you're emotionally stressed, that actually weakens your immune system and suppresses your immune system. So I ask about stress levels, what's your environmental like, what's your emotions like. Of course, talk about any medications you're taking. If you're already taking supplements, because I've had meet people that they're somewhat of aware of supplements, so they're taking something, right? So we'll go through a list of supplements of what you're taking, medication, what's your relationship with your oncologist, because you have some people that don't like their doctors. And so you talk to them, okay, what's your relationship with them? Would they be open to talking to somebody like me, and have that conversation of like, because you do have some, oncologists that actually shuts down alternative medicine, unfortunately. So if you mention anything nutrition, they're like, no, it's not good, it's gonna interfere. So what I would do, educate you a lot about it. That's why I focus on food a lot, because at least food, they can't tell you not to eat, right? So at least with food, you can be eating certain things. Like I'll tell you to focus a lot on berries, organic berries. Berries are very high in antioxidants, right? Focus a lot on leafy green vegetables, because leafy green vegetables are very great for the liver and help your body process out the toxicity from the chemotherapy, right? and strengthen your prostate. So like turmeric, things like turmeric is excellent for the prostate. So things like that I would go through with you, and also make sure that if you have energy to move, you move a lot, because sitting a lot is not good for the prostate either, right? And so work on the prostate, work on the liver and the lungs, right? Because the lungs also process out toxicity as well, right? You breathe out your CO2, which is what your body don't need that. So your lungs actually is one of your detoxification organs as well, which is not really mostly acknowledged as such, but it is. So things like NEC, so we'll go through a lot of the things of like supplementally, nutritionally, what you're doing, your foods, your stress levels, exercise, incorporate some sort of exercise just to kind of get circulation going, reduce your stress levels and things like that. So, and just go through the holistic of you and how you're feeling, because sometimes in my sessions I will actually take a break and pause and say, okay, how are you feeling, how are you dealing with this, what's going through your mind, what are you thinking, like what is it what's your experience right now, besides from what you're actually going through with the cancer, but how are you feeling, what's your mental status right now, do you have someone to talk to, because overcoming cancer is a lot, you know so I go through that as well, and that's something I'll go through with you as well, if you were somebody coming to me with this, what's your thought process like?
So let's go back to the oncologist, because with my particular oncologist, um, I I didn't tell her
What you were
hardly
doing.
anything about what I was doing, and I wanted to keep it that way. And she knew I was a handful from the get go, and when she and I first got together, we butted heads like crazy, because she would say, "Oh, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to start right away." I said, "Well, tell me what you're going to do, and I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to research it." And then, in the meantime, this is all I told her. I told her that, I do a lot of things with my nutrition and things like that. And so she came to know that I was very serious about my health, and I was very serious about living. To this day, I was never late for an appointment with her. I made every appointment. I was on time. And if I said I would do something, I would follow through and do it. Um, Now, I think from what I'm told, that is not normal, what people normally do. Normally, people just say, "Okay, doc, tell me what to do, and I'll do it." So, how
Hmm.
do you approach that aspect with your patients as far as the relationship with the oncologist?
Well, you do, I've come across some who they listen to everything their oncologists say. And so because of them getting into their heads already of whatever, so sometimes it's hard for them to embrace what I have to say, even though they come into me for help, but they still have a hard time embracing that, right? So I will tell them, listen, if your oncologist is open to talking, to having a conversation with me, I can say, I'm your dietitian or your nutritionist, and I'm just working with you on your diet. We don't have to tell them everything you're doing, because the thing is that they're not knowledgeable in nutrition, and it's not their fault. Medical doctors only get like one class of nutrition, if that much, right? So they don't know anything about that. So it's for us to educate the clients, for me to educate the client themselves and empower them. Empowering someone is important for me, letting them know that they have the control. You have the right. It's your body, it's your health, right? So they have their expertise in that. I have my expertise in this, and we can work together. So I don't encourage clients to not listen to their oncologist. I always say, listen to your oncologist. If this is what they're saying, okay, let's follow that, and let's do something that can complement what you're doing with them, so it doesn't get in the way. It just strengthens your immune system. You're going to eat this certain way, right? And I'll educate them from recommending some type of supplements. I tell them why I'm recommending and what is it good for. So at least they have that empowerment to say, okay, I'm taking it for this. So, you know, you have someone like you that they don't tell the oncologist anything because they know the kind of oncologist that they have. And then you have some oncologists that are open to it. So it depends on the relationship you have with your oncologist, right? And it's actually not, it's your health. It's, you know, I talked about the last session, have a e-board for your health, right? So if you realize that one member of your e-board is not agreeing to what you want, you have the right to fire that e-board member, right? And find someone else that's on the same page as you, that believes in what you believe in, because I don't discredit them at all. Like, we need them, they're necessary. So that's kind of how I deal with that.
That's great. I really like that. And, you're all about, you know, making it easy for the patient so
Mm-hmm.
that they can get the results that they want personally. And it's all about their own life. Patients need to understand that it's their life that's at stake, not their doctors or their oncologist or yours. It's
Right.
theirs. And if people realize that fact alone, then they could, fight harder for themselves, because that's what it's all about, is fighting hard for you. It's your life. And it's crazy, because I can recall back when I started my journey, it felt like I was in a fog, because there was just so many distractions and so many people coming at me and so many things uh, happening all at once. It's a very tough time, and so people need great directions, such as what you give, and and offer a different way, and in my opinion, a better way.
Mm-hmm. And also, they need, someone who's going through something like that, any illness, not just cancer, anything. Sometimes they themselves need somebody to fight for them because they can't fight for themselves.
Right.
Because mentally, they're just not present, they're not there, right? So, like, when someone comes to me with anything at all, it's so important for me to empower them and let them know you have this control, but encourage them, like, no, you have this, you got this. You know what I'm saying? Cancer don't got you, you got it, right? So, sometimes they just need somebody to put that. And that's why I also said, going through the experience with my dad is so important of who you surround yourself with, because you can surround yourself with negative people and you will not make it, you die. So you have to have a very good support system, to overcome something like cancer or any kind of illness that you may be experiencing. Because if you're talking to the wrong people, you'll get the wrong directions. If you talk to the right people, you get the right support, the right direction.
So let's talk about that. You brought up a great point. How important is a person's attitude when they're battling any kind of disease?
It's very important because your mind actually, there's a mind body connection, right? Your brain actually communicates to your organs. So if you're thinking defeat, then your body's going to be defeated. So you have to already have that positive attitude like you did, which was great. You're like, I'm going to overcome this thing. I'm going to live for my two daughters. I'm going to be there for them, and so you have to have something to fight for, something deeper than even you. Like, you have to dig deep within yourself and, like, okay, what is it that I want to fight for, and hold on to that. So your attitude and your mindset is huge when it comes to overcoming something like cancer or any kind of illness, because it goes a long way. Because if you're defeated in your mind, you're going to be defeated all the way around, because it starts in the mind. you know it's just like, I don't want to be too sanctimonious, but when God created the earth, he spoke it. That's all he did, was speak, and it happened. So imagine if we just speak that I'm going to live and not die. How powerful that is when we send it out to the atmosphere, that I'm going to live, I'm going to overcome this thing. So when you start hearing yourself, and that's one of the things that I loved about my dad, when he had scriptures around the house. So wherever he goes, he would read it. So even when he's maybe feeling a little down, feeling weak, he has it around to remind him that he has something to fight for. So your attitude and your mental status is it goes a long way, because you have to fight in your mind first. But if you give up in your mind, then you're not going to overcome what it is that you're trying to overcome. It's gonna overcome you.
Beautiful. Thank you for I knew of what you're saying, but I never connected it as far as the mind, connecting with different organs and all that. That's beautiful, and that you're absolutely right. So I appreciate you educating me on that. So
Yeah,
that's really great.
there's actually something called the vagus nerve that actually comes from your brain and it goes throughout your body. So that actually controls your emotions, your senses, and all that stuff. So there's your mind is literally connected to your brain's literally connect to the rest of your body. Because that nerve now stems from your brain, go through your body, and now innervates other organs, right? So it there is a true connection there.
Wow, that's I was actually back in the day, I was actually a biology major. I graduated with a BS in biology. And
Nice.
so you're kind of bringing back
Gonna bring you back to biology class.
yes.
Anatomy and physiology.
Oh yes. Oh yes. That it's funny how life is, I for decades and decades I never uh used my biology degree, and I'm using it more now than I ever have, because I'm always talking about cancer and different organs and things like that. So it's kind of it's really good to actually use it, my degree that I got so many years ago. But yeah, thank you for shedding light on that. Let's keep talking about attitude, because I think attitude, that's one of the biggest things that I love to talk about is attitude. And so for instance, when you have somebody come to you who's not positive, not negative, how do you encourage them as far as their own health journey moving forward? How do you deal with that?
I remind them of their goals. I remind them, like, what is it, like, I remind them of what they told me in the beginning that they want to accomplish with their health. So I bring them back to that. Like, what is your goal? Like, what is it that you want to get out of this? And funny enough, I actually had this happen very recently, where I was working with a client, and still am today, working with her today. And I put her on a detox and a cleanse, because she's so allergic to a lot of things. And I said, listen, we need to do a detox, we need to do a cleanse. And because I put her on the detox, she started getting like rashes on her skin. And I said, great. She was shocked that I said that. And I said, actually, that's a great response. It's telling me your body's responding to what we're doing. She's like, yeah, but it's itchy. I don't know how. She's like, how much longer do we got to do this? She was very negative. And I had to remind her that, what is it that we're trying to do? What is your goal that you told me before that you're trying to overcome? Do you want to keep being sick? Do you want to keep being on medication? Do you want to potentially have to do surgery because of this thing? And she's like, no, I don't. And I said, just give it. I said, just be, please. I said, I begged her on behalf of her. I said, please, like, give yourself a chance, give it some time. And then we scale back some things. That's okay. Let's do this a little bit. We scale back over here so that you can at least start feeling a little bit better, but let's continue this because it's working. Your body's working, right? It's showing that whatever is inside is trying to come out. So, that's what I do. I bring them back to, when we first had that first consultation. Okay, what is your goal? What is it you're trying to overcome? And then I remind them of that. What is important to you? What is priority for you? On part of my intake forms, it actually asks, how important is it for you to, or how committed is it for you to get to the goal that you want to get to, from 1 to 10, and 10 being very important, high priority. And so I always go back to them and ask them, anytime they're trying to feel like they want to give up, or they're complaining, or because healing not always doesn't feel good, right? Sometimes healing can be a little bit uncomfortable, because your body has to go through some changes. You have to give up some foods, You know, you have to not eat certain things. You have to just make that commitment to yourself. So, you know, I find myself, you know, explaining to them and helping them see the end result. Okay, this is where we're trying to go, and this is where you are right now. So let's continue on that journey so you can get to where you are, right? Whatever that goal is. Maybe be around for your grandchildren, maybe make it to your daughter's wedding, maybe just be able to go on vacation and not have to deal with this illness, right? So, you know, I take it, I bring them back to, you know, what their goals are.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love that. I absolutely love that. Let's talk a little bit about detox. Um, a cancer patient going through chemotherapy and detox. How do you treat? How do you deal with that?
So I mean, I don't treat, right? I don't diagnose or treat anything. Just a what disclaimer. But
I
you know,
realized that as soon as I said it, you're going to say
you
something.
call yourself right. Yeah. So, but I mean, with someone with chemotherapy, I don't do a full detox because at the same time, you don't want them to detox out the chemo that they're getting, right? But what I do recommend there's certain nutrients that are certain recommendations I will make them to support their liver. So at least while they are taking this, you know, chemotherapy, they're getting supported, right? So I don't usually put someone on a full detox. It depends also on what kind of cancer and how aggressive it is, right? Because then it depends on what it is. Like if it's breast cancer or something like that, I'm literally like, okay, you're doing some juicing, no meats at all, no dairy, no sugar, because sugar feeds cancer cells, so no sugar at all. And you know, we're gonna go on this hard, you know. And there's some where it depends on the person and what they're going through, because detoxing can be very delicate for a cancer patient. You know, it may be too much for the body at one time. So I'm very cognizant of that. So I go very gentle. I really start with the food. I really try to work with their food and see, okay, let's eliminate this and let's start eating more of this. Let's start some juicing. Let's start taking some probably glutathione or, you know, something like that to support your liver and your kidneys, right? Because like I said, chemotherapy can be very heavy on those organs. You know, can weaken your kidneys because it has to filter through that. You know, and actually that's one of the things that actually my dad suffered from, because his kidneys got weak and it wasn't filtering much anymore. So he started to kind of like, you know, blow up on himself, you know. So, you know, chemo can be very toxic, you know, to the body. So when it comes to detoxification, at the same time, even though chemo is toxic, sometimes someone their body can be so frail and fragile that, you know, you have to be careful on the kind of detox that is done.
Yeah, that's great, great advice and wisdom in that area. Um, yeah, I mean, when I went through chemo, I was working with a compound lab at that time, and they had great products that I was using. What they told me at the beginning was, you know, if I were to use their products, it would greatly lessen the effects of the chemo. So on my first round of chemo, I went through it and I was so sick for 4 days. And I realized, you know, what people were saying about it. And I had no idea at all that it would be that bad. And for 4 days, it felt like I was on this awful, awful high that wouldn't leave. And it was like, I thought it felt like it would never end. And so I called the lab and I said, man, I've been sick as a dog for 4 days. And they said, you know, just keep pushing through. And, you know, after your second round, if it's still like that, then let me know. And miraculously, I had 6 rounds. From my second through my sixth round, I felt nothing at all. And so I was like very thankful that that feeling didn't come back in rounds 2 through 6, because if it did, I was to the point, it was so bad that in my second round, if it was that bad, I said, I'm not going to do it anymore. It was just so awful. But fortunately, it didn't happen that way. And so what we were able to do with the chemo was we were able to stop the rapid metastasizing of the cancer, which is what we were shooting for with my particular situation. And then I started going really heavy into, I changed my diet and added supplements and everything like that. And here we are today. I'm still doing the diet and the supplements and everything like that. And I mean, nobody could contest the results because I'm still here and I'm doing well and I'm doing better every day. So I'm very, very thankful of that. So uh, yeah, I love what you're doing. Absolutely love what you're doing.
And that's why I don't negate chemotherapy, because like in your case, chemotherapy is to slow down the progress, right, of
right.
that, because cancer cells are rapidly, they divide rapidly,
Mm-hmm.
so chemotherapy is to slow it down and to buy time. I always tell people, let's buy us some time. The chemo just to buy us time, because when you do an alternative, it doesn't work as fast, right? Unfortunately. So you need to buy yourself time so that you can start taking these things aggressively and, things like that. So I really don't, shy away from saying, you know what, if you need to do chemotherapy, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, We're just buying some time.
Yeah, that's the approach I've taken from day one is buy time. Buy me another day. Buy me another week. Buy me another month. Because you can't fight from 6 feet underground. You can only fight if you're above ground. And so that makes a huge difference. Absolutely huge. And live to battle another day. And that's been my motto from day one is if you give me tomorrow, then I could battle again tomorrow. And so that's absolutely what I've done, and I embrace and absolutely relish what you're saying here as well.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
anyway, where we are in the interview is we're coming towards the end, and so what I'd like to do is could you share with us some final thoughts? And I mean, I really, really appreciate what this interview and your advice. It's just spectacular, absolutely spectacular, and I really enjoy sharing this interview with you as well. Final
I'm happy.
thoughts?
I'm happy to share what I know and, make impact and encourage someone out there, because, I see what my dad went through, and I believe that if he didn't have a great wife, who's my mom, and didn't have great, children around him to support him, he probably wouldn't have survived as long as he did. So it's really important that you pick your tribe, choose your tribe. If you're not, and the tribe also include your practitioners. You actually can fire your practitioner if you're not happy with the person you're going to. It's okay. You can look for somebody else, right? When you go to a supermarket, we're picking a fruit. If something looks a little battered, we don't want that. We put it back and we look for something else, like, right? That's better looking. It's okay to choose a better practitioner that works with your goals and works with what you're trying to accomplish. So it's nothing wrong with, okay, someone may be watching this today and trying to decide, should I do chemo, should I not do chemo? And you should go ahead and do the chemo, but also find somebody who can work with you alternatively to help you with your nutrition, help you with your diet, give you the right supplements to support your immune system, and bring them together. There's nothing wrong with integrating the two, and pretty much just that's what I want to share is just like, keep your goal in mind. Even if you have to write, on a piece of paper, I shall not die but live. I shall not die but live. You put that on a paper and paste it on your mirrors, on the walls, wherever you are, and you read that every day. use it as an inspiration, and also write your goals. I want to live to see this. I want to be able to do this. I want to suit, and then you see that, you keep that in mind, and that will keep you motivated to keep going. So on days when because there are going to be days when you just don't feel like being alive, you know, but you see this thing and you say, okay, I'm motivated. I'm going to get up and go, and I'm going to do this thing. And also, secondly, find the right tribe as far as family. Choose the right people to be around. It's okay if you don't want that person to visit you. It's okay if you don't want, Uncle John and Auntie Susie to come see you. It's okay. You know who you're responding to or who you connect with. So just surround yourself with the right tribe, the right set of people who have your best interests at heart, and just go with that.
Love it. Absolutely love that advice. Fantastic, fantastic advice. Thank you so much, Kayanne. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. And, again, we're all about helping people and inspiring people. And on the first interview, in fact, a couple of days ago, a friend of mine mentioned, he said, wow, that was a fantastic interview. I learned so much. And so if we can help we start with one person. If we can help one person, then that one person goes to two people, to 10, to hundreds down the road. And yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Kayanne, for your input.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I loved it. Absolutely love it. And thank you to everyone here who's joined us for To Be Your Own Hero. And once again, make the most out of every single day, because every single day is precious. We only have one life. So it's up to us to make it everything that we possibly can. There's so many things that are so negative in our world today. But if we come together as people and help your fellow human being and appreciate people, like I am so blessed to come in contact with such amazing people, such as yourself, Kayanne. I absolutely love the experience, and I really, really relish the experience. So make the most out of every single day, every single hour, every single minute, and every single breath. Life is precious. Life is beautiful. Everybody be blessed, and we will see you next week on To Be Your Own Hero.